were asked by some of the Dangerlings if we could talk a bit about adventure prep this week and how we prepare for how you prepare for a session. We've talked in the past about kind of homebrewing in general. We've talked specifically about putting together pre-made adventures and running those, and they're all back on the Patreon if you want to listen to any of those previous episodes. But yeah, we were talking about like specifically the stuff you do before running a session. For your players, things like that. That kind of how to put together and what some tips that we might have for doing that.
Rosewater.
One of my points is called stamp, don't scribe, and I would break this down to call it jot, don't write. And I would go even further than that by saying write notes, but don't kill yourself doing it. Like the notes that you write. This sort of bleeds a little bit over into general DM tips, but the notes, all the things you want to write down before the game, unless you are dealing with a very, very, very specific high drama moment for a particular player or two particular players, or you are dealing with the description of something that you really want to get right, like the description of a chapel or something like that. All your notes are going to have to be edit them all out. Don't write loads. Don't kill yourself writing so much. Like jot down bits, because as a famous military tactician once said, no plan ever survives contact with the enemy, and your notes will not survive contact with the players. So jot them, don't write them, because otherwise it will have all been in vain.
Yes, I've seen that echoed on various posts on social media, and I believe within the Danger Club itself as well, of great care and attention being paid to particular things, and then the party just walking straight on past, and you're like, I'm not accepting, I'm not going to go there or speak to that person, and you think, oh great, that was
You ever find that your notes are kind of, you've got your vague notes and then you'll just have in massive capital letters the one thing you're meant to say about, like, mention that the building has a back door, like, because it's very easy to just go off and be like, oh, little picket fence, and there's a gnome and it's got a blue hat, and you get all the thing, and you just have this note here being like, oh yeah, because you need to know about that to get in later on.
The plot-centric hooks, like they need to know there's that dealer in the back, because that's the only way out of this tavern when it gets set on fire or something like that. You haven't told them, be like, oh God, Christ, this guy gets you out, he's fine. Oh yeah, no, that happens a lot.
Well, that's very good. We had some more comments. Chris, again, likewise, don't ask for roles if you need them to succeed.
Yes. That's exactly. That cannot be hammered in so often. I'm either doing it, I'm either asking people to roll a perception check, and I'm looking at my notes being like, they need to see the owl. I'm like, they're like, I rolled a 7. You're like, yeah, congratulations, you saw the owl. And they're like, really?
It had a really low DC.
All the time. Yeah. Well, just have an idea in your head of how they fail forward. If they fail, if you need them to get through the door and they fail their roll to unlock it, maybe they unlock it, but in doing so they make enough noise that a guard comes along and now they've got someone chasing them. Just have an idea in your mind of just how you can fail this but also keep the plot going on, and still have consequences. That'll get you through that.
Yes, write it down. But what about you guys? What sort of notes would you suggest?
I had a rapid fire list of practical stuff, which is perfect. First of all, I would massively recommend using OneNote if you are a Microsoft person. If you have Office, it's a great. I'm sure there is a non-union equivalent or a Google version. Probably Google Docs or something like that. Something where you can sort out lots and lots of little notes together, and little tabs. I find that really useful for organizing everything. Paste in any maps that you are going to use this session so that you're not flicking between them. So you could just glance at a map straight away and be like, okay, you've gone down that street. Even better if you can annotate the maps, especially if they're in a city, just little visual cues. What does it look like down this street? Just so you can go to it. Paste in all stat blocks that you need for any monsters that you know you're going to fight this session. If you're using a pre-made, or if you can write down any treasure and anything like that, or just highlight the treasure that they're going to get. Write down any DCs for any skill checks that will be coming up, so you have those to hand straight away, and pre-roll all of your initiatives. All of your monsters roll their initiative straight away, so that you're not having to worry about that. You've just got a number there ready to go. They would be my keynotes that you want to have on there, and then the rest of it, that's like your boring homework. That's like your stuff you need to do to be able to run the game smoothly, and then you can have fun with the flavor. The more you have that kind of those basics in there, the more you can just be in the moment while you're playing the game, and that's where the improv happens, and that's where the magic happens.
My homebrew games, I have a little book. I have a section for shop names, if like someone comes up with a shop name, or that someone comes up with like something, NPCs, because I always forget the NPCs that we've met, and then I also put kind of what accent I do for them as well. That's just to help me. I also, if it's the game, there's a map. I draw out a map because obviously it's homebrew, so I can just do and then I explain obviously what it looks like to you guys, but I draw it out, put little X's on the map where the bad guys are, put their hit points above that, and then their AC and another stat, but I can't remember, just their AC and their initiative, I think, and then so that I've got it all there just ready for like if there's a fight, but then I also bookmark I don't copy and paste the thing, but I just bookmark the book with this monster stat on it so that I can just
try and get one thing to happen in the game. In terms of when you look at your plot points, you can kind of have an idea of plot points that you want to happen at some point, and they might be things that are important for moving the story forward. They might just be moments that are kind of fun. You might just be, I have moments where I was like, I want to get Shire in a room with that NPC because that'll be fun, and I'm going to find a way for that to happen. And that's all that is, basically. And you just have that as an idea of something you're trying to get to. But also have the thing of like, the villain is going to steal their gold at some point, and I want that to happen in this game. Have something that gives forward momentum to the larger story that you're telling, and whether it's something that's kind of antagonists happen, whether it's something that's happening to an individual player, but have a moment in each game that you're trying to get in, and you're going to work, and you're just going to make it, you don't have to say exactly how it's going to happen, but it's your mission that somewhere in the game this little bit is going to happen, because that's the talking point, and that's the thing that moved on the game and moved on the campaign. I think campaigns stagnate when they become sitcoms, and that's where you give the players free reign to do everything and they end up doing nothing. So that's the point where you just inject a little something, have something in your mind that you're going to be like, here's the little bit of here's the extra log on the fire that's going to spark things up and get people excited for the next game. So you don't need loads, but you just have little notes.
Yeah, so you'd recommend having that as a note, just as a little sort of
that's in terms of like plot points that you want to include in a session. That's all I would have.
Okay. I tell you what I'm going to do, because we have come up on time. But so I'm going to ask each one of you to give me a big golden tip that you have, potentially one that we haven't heard, or one that you want to repeat because it's so very important. So Dan, will you give us your closing big tip?
I would say that part of either your responsibility or the joy of being a GM is also caring for your players. And so part of preparing for a session is also identifying where your players are at. When you're prepping the session, you should be looking back to the previous session and the engagement that everyone had and where they were at. Maybe one of your players, you're thinking, okay, they're missing a lot of attacks, or they keep not using half of their abilities. Have a look at their character sheets, things like that. See if they're getting it. And maybe this is a chance for you to have a read through their character sheet, really understand their rules from the point of view that they are, and help them with anything that they are struggling with. Like I've spent the morning today going through all Bubba's character sheet in depth and like learning all of his abilities, so that if there, and I've seen a few that Colin isn't using, and so we can have a chat and be like, okay, are you not using this because you don't like it, or is it something you don't understand, or you want some help getting it in there? And it also goes as far as kind of mood and everything else. It's a chance to check in. It's a chance to see how everyone was last time and see if you can structure the game this time in a way that includes everyone better and helps everyone to enjoy it a little bit better.
Great stuff. Great tip there. So, keep that feedback line open between yourself and the players. And Ross, what would be your closing tip?
Don't panic. Don't panic when you're prepping, that you have to like prep everything. Sometimes you don't have to prep anything. And those are the best games. So I would say just don't over prep if that is a...
And the final one, my closing tip, is called get wrecked. Not get drunk, get REKT. Okay, get wrecked. Just trust yourself. Trust the fact that you and your players had a session 0. Trust your players, they're your friends. Trust your combined knowledge of fantasy and your love of adventure. And it's my only point that I had, which is attacking the question, attacking this whole question. And it sort of goes in with what Ross was just saying just now. Just trust yourself, get wrecked. And every now and then, there's only so much prep you can do. Throw it to the wind, trust yourself, and you will have a great time, which is also what goes into what you were saying about Bill Murray.
Yes, exactly.
Throws it towards the plant.
Immediately, some of the plants kind of move back from it as if they're frightened.
It's food! Yum yum! Eat!
One of the tendrils picks up the meat and kind of holds it, and then just looks back to you and goes, yum yum!
Yay!
Can we see any of this?
Yeah, oh yeah, you're all watching this unfold.
Fulton, are you making sure they've got a taste for humanoid flesh?
I do the thing he does in Jurassic World where Chris Pratt just puts his hand out towards Karagor and is like, don't worry, I've got this.
Nunai moves Etendran back into kind of the grove, and there's a snap sort of sound, and it comes back out with like a tender long stem. Yum yum!
I buy into it.
Bite into it.
We're in the desert, it's peyote, that's it.
Yeah.
Last 5 episodes worth of hallucinations.
Imagine that we're like within touching distance of starting the slithering, and we begin a 5 episode trucker.